3rd of October 25, it's Friday, and I'm just talking about two things that happened this week. There was the Manchester knife. I'm not saying that word just in case YouTube don't like it, so. And also the Palestine protests, which happened on the same day. But I think Nigel Farage made a speech and he said the protests were about celebration, but I don't think he realises that they were actually about the flotilla being stopped by Israeli forces, about, 50 miles off the coast of Gaza. Yeah. So, that flotilla is with Greta Thunberg and the likes. It's about 50 boats or something. It just gets stopped on Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, and the Manchester person, he done this terrible thing on the same day, but it's turned out that he's on bail for a very serious offence against women, alleged, of course, because he hadn't been to trial yet. So to me it's looking like possibly that was his main. Don't get me wrong, everything about him personally, I don't think, I think, well, the governments of Labour and Tories have decided, we'll decide who comes into the country to become either just to live or become British citizens. We'll decide. You don't get a referendum on it, we'll just vote. Just vote for party hampers. And so this family, this Manchester family, it looks as if they were let in around about 1995 or something. So that would be under John Major. That was even before Tony Blair. A lot of people say Tony Blair was the one that done it, but Tony Blair put it on turbo speed. I think the two things that happened then was also the internet as well and mobile phones. So the people from countries around the world could see the routes and all the loopholes and things. So, but this family seemed to have gotten around about 1995. I think, first of all, I read that his father was some sort of helped, NGO agencies around the world or something. I don't know what it was. And someone said he's a doctor or something. But, so, although this man was born in Syria, what age was he? He was 35, 36. So, around about 1990. At that time, it looks like his family were still in Syria, but by 1995, it looks as if they were in Britain. And I think it was 2006 he became a British citizen. And this is the second Manchester terrorism in this sort of fashion, because the Ariana Grande concert, the man who done it was born in 1994 in Britain, and his family were from Libya, and at the time of the bombing his parents were in Libya on holiday or something. Their benefits get stopped. I don't know what benefits or whatever, but over here, his family fled Gaddafi or whatever, and the government at the time felt, well, this is very deserving for this family to become British citizens, So again, this is a sort of similar thing, but Well, I just wanted to also point out that these Palestine protests, people might not realise that they're to do with the flotilla last night. I'm not even sure that the Home Secretary realises. Possibly she did, but did she mention it? I've not watched what she said on the thing. Sabana Mahmood, who I think's been on protests herself, Palestine protests herself before in the past. And she was out in Lesbos Islands when all the Syrians were coming over from Turkey to Greece 10 years ago. She was over there, sort of helping. Well, I don't know about helping, but certainly I don't know why she was there. But anyway, yeah, because Nigel Farage made a speech yesterday and he said for them to be... He said they were celebrating in these protests, that's how he made it out, but that's completely wrong. It was to do with the flotilla. So I'm even calling it out, I would vote for him, I would vote Advance UK, but I think they maybe have misunderstood us, and I don't know whether the mainstream legacy media have misunderstood us across the board, about the Palestine protests yesterday. They were about um, the flotilla getting stopped, the Greta Thunberg flotilla. So they're in custody of Israel at the moment. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. I just asked Google Gemini a few questions. So this was about the Manchester bomb at the Ariana Grande concert. I think it killed 22 people, injured many. Was born in the UK, specifically in Manchester in 1994. So that was John Major. Their family were already here. Possibly they were here even earlier than that. Maybe even under Mrs. Thatcher. So don't think of it, in my opinion, just as a Tony Blair thing. Where it did get totally out of control. As I say, I think the two reasons for that were Tony Blair's things to do with the European Court of Human Rights and his laws and things, human rights laws, but also it was to do with the internet. And you can't underestimate, I think, how much a lot of people don't like living in their own country. In Britain we take it for granted. We like living in Britain, but some of us would maybe go to USA, Australia, probably for the warm weather, and because we think it's stable, we think it's like Britain, basically. But there's a lot of countries in the world, it seems, that they just, you know what I'm talking about. So his parents had fled Libya and sought refuge in the UK, so they didn't seek refuge in a neighbouring country or a country that was very religious in a way they like. They didn't. We don't know if they considered Africa, Asia, or whatever. We don't know if they just had a few countries in mind, and they all had a similar. They had a perception. They thought it was similar for them all. In which country? We don't live in a free country, so I can't go on about it. What year? Manchester knife attacker. Yeah, I just wondered when the Manchester knife attacker moved to the UK. That's a typo there. So far we don't know. He was 35 years old, but he was born in Syria as far as I know, so they've not been here 35 years. He was granted British citizenship in 2006, at which point he was around the age of 16. So that's a bit strange if the family have been here 30 years. Maybe they didn't take citizenship at first, because this is what you could do with indefinite right to leave. You didn't need to become a citizen. One source suggests his family had lived in Greater Manchester for at least 30 years. And then I just asked about the Palestine protest, just to confirm whether to do with the flotilla. Yes, a pro-Palestine protest that took place in central London yesterday was indeed connected to the flotilla, and it seems about 40 people were arrested. And remember, their Home Secretary and everyone else was talking about the Unite the Kingdom march, and they were going on about how 26 were arrested. We don't know why. We don't know what side, because there was this thing, although the police did put out a tweet saying most of them were the United Kingdom, but I don't know if that's correct. Don't know if the charges have been dropped, or you don't know how much you believe in what they were charged with, because I watched these protests and I've not really got much confidence in police. I mean, they've got a thankless job, but I seen stuff last night. I saw something getting thrown and I saw somebody getting arrested. So, but I don't know if that was from another side. Reports state that the central London demonstration held on Thursday evening was held to protest the Israeli Navy halting a flotilla carrying aid to Gaza. Yeah, that's how I perceived it. And they had this protest in Glasgow, and the train stations they usually have them. I think that's when they've not got very many supporters, or they don't have the right or something. They'll go to a train station so that they really disrupt. And they've done that in Edinburgh as well. Manchester. Yeah, there was a protest in Manchester, but it's to do with the flotilla. It was to do with the Israeli Navy halting a flotilla carrying aid to Gaza. Yeah, and I watched this protest on YouTube. And again, they kettled a lot of people, and I don't know if I've got much confidence on whatever the charges are going to be, if there are charges. They kettled a few, and then they were just arresting one after the other. And I think the way the police detain people with handcuffs, the whole thing is just, it's assault basically. So the training's diabolical, the equipment, the handcuffs have still got keys. I don't know, does that make sense nowadays? Why can they not just use some sort of straitjacket on people? It just looks like assault every time I see the police arresting somebody at these marches. The way they put them on the ground, it reminds me of something which a lot of people felt very strongly about in 2020, the way they put them on the ground. Really, they've got their arms in awkward positions that look as if they're about to break them, it's appalling. I don't know, maybe they should all get judo training or something, I don't know, but they need some sort of new ways. Maybe they should ask, we're opening it up to innovators, give us your ideas and we'll reward the best ones, yeah. And the whole culture seems to be incorrect. I mean, I've still got confidence in the institution, and I think a lot of them try to do their best in that, but the whole thing of watching these protesters getting arrested is just, I mean, it's assault every time that they do it, in every way, like the way they do it. Did Nigel Farage say, yeah, Google Gemini didn't pick this up, but Grok did. I checked on Grok, and it did say, yeah. I'll show you the one in Grok. Here we go. Yes, Nigel Farage has publicly stated that pro-Palestine protests in the UK following a deadly terrorist attack outside a Manchester synagogue were effectively celebrating the violence. I mean, I don't know if he mentioned the flotilla thing, but I feel like he's got it all wrong, and I'm surprised at that level. It's not the first time at this level I've seen them, because they thought the Pink Ladies, their partners, usually the men, turn up in masks, and a day or two afterwards, Reform seemed to have been of the impression that it was Antifa showing up, no in the mask, but it was actually their partners and men friends. So, yeah, and I don't know if they still do that at the United Kingdom thing. You're not allowed to wear a mask. Tommy's marches, you're not allowed to wear masks. So maybe, and the men in the Pink Ladies also had flares and things, which I thought was a mistake, just visually. But so it's not the first time Reform have made a mistake on this, if it is a mistake. In response, Farage posted a video statement on X criticising hastily organised pro-Palestinian demonstrations that occurred the same evening, accusing participants of celebrating murder and calling the behaviour vile. He emphasised that while peaceful protesters are right in the UK, glorifying violence crosses a line, stating, "We're a country that allows peaceful protests, but we're not one that allows a celebration of murder." So, I don't know, I feel he's got it wrong, he doesn't realise it's to do with the flotilla, I think. I might be wrong, I've not watched, usually I would watch it, but this comes amid heightened tensions over ongoing pro-Palestine marches in the UK, with Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood describing the post-attack protests as fundamentally un-British, but she says she can't stop them. But again, does she not realise they're to do with the flotilla? Farage's comments have drawn significant attention. Oh well, I might as well watch it now. Yeah, I just watched Nigel's speech yesterday. It was 2 minutes long or something. Yeah, he seems to have got it wrong. He said they were unplanned Palestinian marches, but that's because they were waiting for the flotilla to get stopped, They didn't know when that was going to happen. It happened on Wednesday evening through to Thursday morning. And it is ironic because I wonder if Zia Yusuf sort of informed him. I think he's thought the thing about the Pink Ladies. I think it was him that thought he thought Antifa had turned up or something. I can't remember actually. But I'm guessing that he thinks he's razor sharp, and he probably thinks he's got this. But if he'd searched, they would have got it. I mean, it's an easy mistake, but it's a sloppy mistake as well if you don't know why the Palestine protests happened last night. And even Shamana Mahmood seems to, I'm not sure she understood either. Yeah, so, yeah, that's all I've got to say. I mean, like I say, I voted for him, I voted Advance UK. I think we've made a big mistake. And I know that a lot of time Labour and SNP and Green MPs stand up in Parliament and say how immigration's done well and they'll give individual cases. I'm guessing this is seen as a bad case. Well, it is a bad case, you know. I'm saying it's a bad case. But, you know, no one's going to take responsibility for it in that sort of way, I don't think. Yeah, so that's all I've got to say on that. Okay, bye for now.